Hey, what's up? It's Jake, and I'm here today to talk to you about class methods. So they're slightly different than static methods in that, like instance methods, they also take a special first argument. But in this case, it is the class object itself rather than the instance. So a very common use case for coding class methods is to provide factory capability to a class, which means to have alternative ways to create instances of the class. So what in the heck does that mean? Well, I'll show you. So let's say I have class point, and in here I define init and pass self xy, and I will say self.x equals x, and you guessed it, self.y equals y. Okay, and I add a decorator for a class method, and we'll say define from tuple, and we will do a class CLS and chords. CLS is a point, by the way, or is point. Boop, there we go. Yeah, so there's my tuple, and then we'll just return CLS and then times chords. Okay, that looks good. And then we'll do another decorator for a class method and say define from point, class point, and in this case, CLS is point again, right? And we're going to return CLS point.x and point.y. Okay, so now let's use them. So P equals point dot from tuple, and then we'll say 3, 7. Cool. And then we'll say, let's print so we can see it, p.x and dang it, p.x and p.y, and that should give us 3 and 7. And then we'll make a q, and we'll say point dot from point, whatever p is from that point, we want to print the q.x and q.y, which should also be 3 and 7. So first, let me actually run this. Class.method methods 3737. Cool. So this is how you use a class method to create a factory for the class. So in this case, you want to create a point instance by passing both coordinates, like in this case 37, but also want to be able to create an instance by passing a tuple or another instance point. So within each class method, the CLS class argument refers to the point class. So as with the instance method, which takes self as the first argument, the class method takes class argument. Both self and class are named after a convention that you're not really forced to follow, but definitely encouraged to respect that. It's something that really no professional Python coder would change. So it's a strong convention that plenty of tools rely on, like parsers, linters, and etc. Class and static methods do play well together. Static methods are actually very helpful in breaking up the logic of a class method to improve its layout. So in the case of doing like my palindrome, where was the static method? Yeah, so here's my static method. So what I could do is I have this class string util, and I have these static methods, right? Well, I could say, instead of doing this, I could make a class method and say, hey, define palindrome is this. I could do that. And then just say, like, s equals class dot strip, oops, wait, no, underscore, strip under string s, and then just say if if case insensitive, then s equals s dot lower, and then return class is palindrome, something like that. Palindrome of S, something like that. So let's take a look at this. So at class method on line 3, and then starting at line 4, we define is palindrome, and we pass, oh yeah, because I'm going to pass my class now instead of S. Case insensitive is true, and then S is going to be the class dot underscore strip underscore string for S, and then if case insensitive, then lower it, and then return the class dot is palindrome for S. So then if you do that, what you can do is you can get rid of all this other junk, and I can do, because you notice I have that strip string, I have that class method. So now I have a static method, and I could say define underscore strip underscore string that takes an S, and just say, hey, return that blank string, basically do this, right? So I can just copy this, paste it, and now I don't need this, right? In fact, I don't need this or this. So I have a static method here, and then now I have my logic here, right? So I could make another guy here for a static method and just say define underscore is underscore palindrome for S, and then I can take this guy out for is if is case sensitive, like that. Actually, I'll leave it and say define. Okay, so for C in range length S, floor 2, blah blah blah, same thing. And then the static method get unique word sentence and then split, right? And then that's it. And if I just take some of these out, like I'll just do like 2 of them. And if I did that, this would be a way to mix your class and static method. So I got one static method that uses this every time, and then these or class method, and then the 3 static methods. And that should work just as well. So static S before assignment. S sentence. Where is my S value? S is this guy, and then S dot lower, and then I'm going to return is palindrome S, and then this is going to take the S input and return this guy, and then static method is palindrome for S for C in range length S. Okay, that looks fine. And then define this. Where did it say I didn't like it? Unbound area, local variable S reference for assignment. So this is a local variable S. Let me double check where this is at. Line 5, line 26. So here, didn't like that. Let's see here. String util at class method define is palindrome. Oh, because I need it right there. That should fix the problem. There. Ta-da! That's good at troubleshoot. I like troubleshooting this kind of stuff when I'm recording, because then you know it's not some pre-produced thing. And like I run into errors all the time, and troubleshooting this and figuring it out is a very important skill. So if you compare this code to the previous code that I have, first of all, there's even though is palindrome is now a class method, we call it in the same way we were calling it when it was a static one. But the reason we changed it to a class method after factoring out a couple pieces of logic like strip string and palindrome is you need to get a reference to them. And if we have no CLS like class in our method, the only option would be to call them by using the same name of the class itself. So like string util dot strip string, string util dot is palindrome, which is not good practice because we would hard code the class name in the is palindrome method, thereby putting yourself in a position of having to modify it whenever you want to change the class name. So using a CLS class reference means that it will act as the same as the class name, which means your code won't need any modifications should you change the class name. So now because I have this reference, I can change the class name all I want. I could change this name, and because there's no reference to string util anywhere except in the actual declaration and the call of it at the end, I can edit this class name and none of my code gets messed up. So anyways, that's kind of the whole purpose of it. So now the new logic reads better than the previous version. And the by naming the factored out methods with a leading underscore, you're hinting that these methods are not supported to be called from outside the class. So that's kind of what all the like underscore is, underscore palindrome. That's the whole idea of that. But that will be a whole nother topic, which I will get into in my next video, in private methods and mangling of names. So if you have any questions, let me know. But now we're starting to mix these methods and it's starting to make sense. Hopefully you're able to follow along and you're staying up with me. So yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one.